concludes the majority of our show, or what we thought was the script for the show. However, I wanted to take a few minutes here because at about 7:20 tonight, this show starts at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and about 7:20 I received some very devastating news, and that is that a longtime friend of mine, and as it relates to this our show, one of the most wonderful self-advocates and autism advocates that I've ever known, and perhaps that the world's ever known, passed away unexpectedly about a week or so ago, and I never found out about it. And it's my good friend Alec Frazier. So I wanted to take a few minutes to memorialize Alec, sort of off the cuff. I'm going to get some facts wrong. I don't have my thoughts about me or my wits about me about it yet, but I figured we're about to go live here. So why not just memorialize Alec, because that's what he would have wanted. So Alec Frazier, ladies and gentlemen, I had the chance to meet Alec. I guess it was probably in like the year 2000 or so. My first ever job in this field, autism, disabilities, what have you. My first ever job, I was hired to be a one-on-one aide with Alec Frazier. He was in 8th grade at Southern Hills Middle School in Boulder, Colorado. Alec has Asperger's, and so brilliant young man, but just needed some help staying focused, staying on track, that sort of thing. So I was hired to be Alec's one-on-one aide to help him with schoolwork and all that sort of stuff. Liz, I'm just looking at this Zoom, and it looks like you're highlighted, and I'm not. I don't know if that's the case or not, if that's just how I'm seeing weird things. So I'm just saying that, but whatever, I digress. Alec, so I was hired to be his aide, and at the time he had had a lot of different aides and gone through it and had trouble with different aides or whatever. And so he had a behavioral therapist at the time who developed a system of him rewarding him for good behavior by taking, if you behave bad or whatever, you take these tickets from him. And it was this whole ticket system. Anyways, I love working with Alec. He was awesome. I never took a ticket, and at the end of the year, he wrote this really nice note to me. Nick, I had so much fun working with you, and mostly because you never took a ticket from me. But anyways, I always remember that note. And Alec was just a brilliant young man. Ended up going to Fairview High School in Boulder, Colorado. While he was in high school, when everyone else was just like goofing around and doing things, he was at the State House passing legislation that benefited people with disabilities and people with autism. He was very instrumental in passing a significant piece of legislation that I actually forget what it even was, but like that was the type of person Alec was. Just brilliant, funny, self-depreciating, hilarious, wild, just a great guy. He ended up after high school in Boulder, Colorado, he ended up back in Ithaca, New York, which is where he spent some time in his childhood. I believe Alec was actually perhaps born here in Boston. I know he spent some time in Boston as well. Went to Ithaca, which is where he got his undergrad. And again, I'm just doing this off the cuff. I literally found out that this wonderful young man passed away about an hour ago. We stayed in touch over the years. Spent a bunch of time in Ithaca. School had a lot of challenges, but also just constantly overcame them. Had challenges, due to his disability, of course, and bullying, and just all sorts of stuff. But always just persevered. I always saw him we were friends on Facebook. He's always got a backpack. He's on a train somewhere. He's going somewhere. He's calling. He met with so many different famous Congress people. He wrote his own book. He wrote a book about the first ever superhero with autism. Just my thoughts are a little washed right now, but I just want to make sure I get a lot of thoughts out here about Alec, and I'll try to be a little more brief moving forward. Ended up, again, I don't know exactly where he got his degree from. I know he was in Ithaca, Albany, that sort of area. And once he finished with college, he ended up moving down to DC because he was really into political advocacy. And in his time in DC, he started previous to DC, he started a whole organization, a whole business called Autistic Advocacy. He published a ton of essays, wrote a ton of, I don't know, I'm just rambling here, but I want to memorialize my good friend Alec. So Liz, maybe you could show a couple of those pictures I sent you a few minutes ago. That'd be great. And Alec, a couple other things about Alec is he always said he hated football. And so every year when the Super Bowl came along, that's Alec there in the middle of that photo. Every year when the Super Bowl came along, he would just make his Super Bowl pick based on the city that he had the most affinity for. So we always picked like the Patriots were in the Super Bowl because he liked Boston because he was born here or lived here when he was a little kid or whatever. That's a picture of him when I was working at Special Olympics. He visited and he spoke to our staff there, which was incredible. If you could just keep that sucker scrolling, Liz, that would be awesome. That's another picture for what he presented there. And anyways, he's just an awesome young man. We stayed in touch over the years. And then most recently, he came up here to visit to Boston. We came up here to visit about 3 years ago, and he stayed with me and my family. That's us out to dinner. Alec loved to eat, loved tacos. That was Taco Tuesday with our kids. And lastly, I think there's another photo where we went to, this was about a year ago when he visited, and we went to the TD Garden to visit our friends at the Sports Museum there and gave Alec a little tour. I guess the last thing I'll sort of say is that he was in our Dougie's Epic Adventure, Liz, right? So when we had in the fall our Flutie 5K, we turned it virtual. We called it Dougie's Epic Adventure. Many of you know, but basically it was a virtual run where we tracked the mileage from Boston all the way down to Florida. And so for the DC portion, we needed someone to make a video in Washington, D.C., and Alec agreed to go to the Washington Monument. Was it Washington or Jefferson?
Jefferson.
Yeah, he went to the Jefferson Monument and he made this video. This might be the last time I even communicated with Alec, to be honest with you. This was in September. This could have been the last time we communicated. So he made this video as part of the Dougie's Epic Adventure. So check it out.
Jefferson was our first president with autism, although he definitely wasn't the last. I run with Dougie today on this journey to give those with autism a voice and expression. Thank you.
So just last thoughts on Alec, and I'll wrap it up super quick. He was due when he came up last time. He met with me and our colleague Lisa Collins, and he needed, one of our things is we provide direct financial support, and I always want to support Alec. So he was due to go present at a conference in Toronto. It would have been, he needed some support to pay for travel and lodging so he could get there and present. And spread the word as he talked about there in that video. And because of COVID, it got canceled. So I think my last email with Alec was talking about the conference was now moving to New York. It was going to be perhaps this summer. And the last email I heard from him was sort of like, stay tuned, Nick, I'll keep you posted and let you know about the conference. And, that was the last I heard from him. And so Alec, I just want you to know I love you, buddy. And we won't let your light dim ever. We'll always remember you, pal. So thanks, Alec, and thanks everybody for joining us tonight.